impact in terms of productivity that these measures could have. And also there's a gap of knowledge in terms of technology, quality, and performance. And when you have that, it's quite difficult to bring companies to actually understand the importance of doing this kind of investment. So as I said, we designed this innovative insurance program focusing in financing the improvement of this kind of measures in existing buildings, but we also open it to new buildings. So we had an integral intervention to tackle the most relevant barriers we had in Colombia, that it was information, trust of the ESCOs, and concessional funding needed for doing this. And we also, in this program, we actually leveraged the role of the development banks, bringing together different actors like private companies, commercial banks, insurance companies, and the national technical standards entities. That is not quite a common activities that we do. And also we brought together international resources in the form of a blended finance scheme. So this was an interesting scheme for that. So only moving quickly to explain the scheme, it was a two-component scheme, a financial component with a concessional line to hotels, clinics, and hospitals in all sizes. And I want you to picture the Colombia, the regions of Colombia. So they were not big, only big hotels and clinics, but small hotels and clinics in different parts of the country. And that was quite important. So we chose some specific technologies that we thought was important to prioritize to help them understand the technologies and the importance of them. And then we created some non-financial components with 3 different products that actually were designed to tackle the different barriers. So I will try to move fast on that. We created, along with our partners, the energy savings insurance to actually tackle the mistrust in energy efficiency investment and ESCOs that I mentioned before. Then an energy saving contract, because we didn't have contractual models to actually regulate the energy efficiency business. And then a project validation and verification, because we, as I said, had a lack of adequate technical and structured projects, and there's not enough knowledge in terms of the providers and the technology. So after we put that on the market, I have to say that we've been working on this for such like a long period, because at the beginning we have this whole structure, and then we put it on the market and it was not quite successful. So we have to iterate a lot until we found the best option and mix the tools in the proper manner for the private sector to respond. So, and now we're happy to share with you that the private banks and the insurance companies have their own products to finance this. And we as a development bank are actually channeling resources to help this. Nowadays, the IDB is, for the success of this program, is scaling up this program in Colombia as well, and Latin America and some other European countries as Portugal and Italy. And I have to say, in terms of numbers, that as we're focusing on SME, sometimes our number as lower than some other banks, but for us are quite important. So as of September of 2021, the program in Colombia has financed close to $40 million in energy efficiency projects in more than 160 projects, and about 50% of them have accessed the insurance. So this is probably what I wanted in a nutshell to share with you, and actually to open this discussion that we believe is quite relevant and important. Thank you very much for the time to share this with you.
Thank you, Laura, for presenting the large range of products your bank is developing and supplying to the different stakeholders. I've also noticed that you are quite innovative, or at least you are ambitious, and you want also to put on the market new products, and in particular products related to energy performance contracting, and with a set of tools to monitor the performance, and maybe later on people from the attendants will ask you how the program is moving on. So now I would like to invite Nathalie Layani, who is the Director of Sustainable Policy at Caisse des Dépôts et Consignations. I will ask Nathalie to present shortly, briefly, her institution and also to provide the views and on the role of development banks to transform the building sector and to address maybe some examples of the policy you are deploying in your institution. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Jose, and good morning, everybody. I'm very glad to be with you today to address this important issue. You said it, Jose, it's the sleeping giant. Well, very glad to address this concrete major issue of building emissions. So Caisse des Dépôts is the French national public bank. We manage savings from French citizens, we manage pensions from civil servants, and we use these resources in order to finance general interest projects at the local level, at local municipalities level, but through the public investment bank, BPI France, we also support SMEs. Caisse des Dépôts Group as a whole is very active on ecological transition in France. And you may think that in the EU and in France, given the ambitious regulation we have to implement climate objectives, this issue would be addressed. It is addressed, but at the EU level, 75% of building stock is still not efficient in terms of energy efficiency, and less than 1% of national building stock is renovated each year. And at the French level, the sector is still emitting, is still responsible for 20% of national CO2 emission. And in order to implement national climate objectives, we need to renovate 700,000 buildings every year. So this is a huge challenge. At the EU level, we need to double the efforts to be online with our carbon neutral 2050 objectives. So what does Caisse des Dépôts do? What can public national banks as Caisse des Dépôts can do? Well, on our side, we really chose to address market failures. We don't address any kind of building renovation or residential renovation. We focus our action on social housing, retrofitting, on local municipalities, public buildings renovation, and on SME support on their efforts to be more efficient in terms of energy consumption. So with the social housing sector, it's quite interesting to see that by providing green loans that are long-term loans over 25 years, with a criteria of minus 40% of energy improvement before and after the retrofitting, and with very low rates, of course, we managed to really address a lot of renovation, to make large breakthrough, but this is because our counterparts are really well organized. They are experts of real estate, and so it's of course easier. It's easier to address this issue with this kind of counterparts. And so our objective is to renovate 500,000 buildings every year in the social housing sector, and really to address what we call energy. Low-income households that are facing energy problems. So the second kind of financing that we developed are green loans for public buildings renovation, These are green loans that are also long-term loans over 40 years with a criteria of minus 30% energy improvement. And we cover 100% of the financing needs if the project is totally dedicated to energy efficiency. And what we've experienced with local municipalities is that, well, it's more difficult to address these issues with them because they are not real estate professionals. They sometimes don't have any dedicated budget line for energy efficiency. And I would say that politically speaking, it's not always very valuable to work on just energy efficiency. Mayors prefer to work on the whole renovation, and so to overcome these obstacles, we propose to broaden the scope of our offer, not only to just finance projects, but really to act upfront and to support these local municipalities in the very beginning of the project on the engineering. And so we offer engineering support and technical assistance. I think that's one of the key aspects of success in this field. We also provide innovative financing, interacting offers, especially for universities refurbishment. And so that is to say that we co-fund energy efficiency investment that are remunerated through energy savings. That's the purpose of interacting. And we also dedicate full aid program from initial appraisal to financing models to some of local municipalities that are active in the public buildings renovation. So that was for the public buildings, and for the SMEs through BPI France, we also developed a whole bunch of financial tools. Loans, but also energy diagnosis, and so we have the objective to renovate 2 million square meters by 2024. So just a few words to conclude and to draw good practices maybe, and what would be the role of public development banks in that field. What we've learned is that, our role is to really play, to be a single contact point. Our counterparts really need to have one and only contact point that really help us to avoid the hurdles, not only the financing hurdles, but also the administrative complexity, the renovation hurdles. And so we provide them with the knowledge of the building owners, with finding also qualified handcrafts artisan, and so we avoid them these kind of hurdles. Also in terms of financing, as I said, we provide innovative financing, and I think that the most important is really to as a public development bank, focus on the upfront part of the renovation. And for new buildings, I think the added value of public development banks is also to address biodiversity issues, and, as you said, José, issues related to the embodied emissions through the use of recycled product and biosourced products.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Nathalie.
Thank you for being a bit long.
This very comprehensive presentation of the activity of Caisse des Dépôts. We had a talk before the meeting, and you said, oh, you see, we have limited actions in the building sector on related to climate change, but in fact you are covering almost every sectors, and you are developing a lot of dedicated tools to address the complexity of energy efficiency. And what was interesting is to bring to the discussion the experience of an EU development bank to introduce also stakes in a sector that is maybe less of interest for developing countries, that is the existing stock of buildings, the stake in development in developing countries is the dynamic of the construction of new buildings. In our countries, we have also to address the existing buildings, and certainly in some countries, I think in Latin America, but also in some countries in Africa, the issue of existing buildings is also a real issue and should be addressed as well as the construction one. So now I would like to invite a second range of panelists to provide their contribution to the thought regarding the way the development bank can increase their contribution in the field of energy efficiency in the building sector. So we will have as participants Catherine Candice Kaufman, Group Executive Project Preparation at the Development Bank of Southern Africa. Miguel Angel, who is the Head of Partnership and International Cooperation, Central Bank of Economic Integration, CABEI. Luciana, who is connected with us on video conference. Luciana Gorgulo, Head of Urban Development at the Brazilian Development Bank. And finally, Matthias Zilboer, Senior Economist, Energy and Climate in KfW Development Bank Sector Policy Department, German KfW Development Bank. So, to start the discussion with you, I would like to invite Matthias, maybe to address the first question. Matthias, where do you see the barrier and biggest potential in order to unlock the investment in green energy efficient buildings at scale? We know how to make a demonstration project, but how to change the scale of investment, the magnitude of investments? Matthias?
Thank you. Yeah, thanks for your kind invitation to this panel, and also thank you for the PEEB program and IDFC AFD to organize that and putting it on the table. It's definitely very relevant. Thank you. And while listening to you, Nathalie, from Caisse de Dépôts, I also thought I should maybe introduce just in one sentence for KfW, because KfW is the state-owned bank in Germany and is very active actually also in Germany with programs also on building and also on renovation. So what you've just mentioned, Nathalie, is very relevant to Germany as well. Same applies here. But in my role, I'm working in the development bank. So we're financing and partnering up with our partner countries on behalf of the German government. And so I rather focus on that area, on the development cooperation side. And also maybe to mention in the beginning, so my focus right now, I think also our focus in general is a bit more on the mitigation side, actually, on the building and construction programs. However, obviously adaptation is equally important, no matter. No question, especially also on, for example, social housing, very relevant to us as well. But getting back to your question on biggest potential and challenges, I think key element of the answer is also to have a look on where we come from and where we are in regard of those programs. And as you have just mentioned, also Laura, I think on Bancoldex, we do focus on energy efficiency a lot. Also here within our programs, those are established programs. They're working well, I think. I hope we do a good job on this. It's through credit lines, but also through direct programs on construction and buildings. But in the end, obviously, it is about the operation phase of the building. And so now when it comes to Paris alignment and our thoughts on climate impact of the buildings, we definitely need also to, at least for KfW, we need to enlarge our view and get a bit more holistic view on the building programs. So meaning that we put more focus on the embodied carbon, as you've mentioned before, but also on maybe local supply chains, and then in the end, definitely also, for example, on demolition or adaptive reuse of such buildings. So that life cycle thought and view is definitely very important to have a bigger impact in terms of climate in buildings.
Thank you, Matthias. I will come back later with another question for you. Miguel Angel, do you want to add things to the question I was asking to Matthias later?
Yeah, of course. First of all, thank you for the invitation, and good morning and good afternoon to everyone. And adding to what Matthias said, I think one thing which is very important is the lack of the inefficiency of public policies that can create the right environment to promote these investments. Because if you look at the public policies in some countries where there are, in some cases they don't promote it. Indeed, they put barriers in some cases. So I think in this case, is from a strategic point of view, and in order to create the enable environment for this, adequate public policies are needed, and of course are needed taking into account the local context, the national context. I think this is one of the key barriers. One other thing that I think is very important is that we have a lot of information saying, okay, building construction is responsible for 38% of emissions. Yeah, but how aware are we of that? And how we take into account this awareness on our daily decisions? Yeah, just go to the supermarket and say, okay, just buy the cheaper light or you buy the LED light. Yeah, of course you can say, we buy the LED light. Yeah, but it's not for everyone. Yeah, because cost is an issue. Yeah, so in this case, providing financing that can make some incentive to people, normal people, current people, to buy this and to get this will increase the demand, and therefore we will have more constructions with more efficiency. I think these two things are very important and will unlock the financing for that as well.
Thank you. Thank you for this contribution to the, yeah, you are right. The public policies have also their role to play in the transformation of the market. It's clear. Catherine, maybe you can present briefly the role of your institution as development bank and introduce the activities you are implementing in the infrastructure and construction sector, if any.
Thank you. I'm from the Development Bank of South Africa. It's a 100% state-owned entity in South Africa. Its mandate is primarily infrastructure projects to develop the economy. So we have a lot of competing functions that we have to take care of in the infrastructure space. And as you mentioned, the build and the construction side is a massive contributor to carbon emissions. We believe, because of our position, we are in a perfect position to influence the sector in terms of driving a climate resilient sector. The South African government, as you know, we have massive backlogs in infrastructure in South Africa. The South African government has developed a program called the SITSA program It's quite well known because we are supported by a number of institutions that are in the room. It's an infrastructure program that is to stimulate and revive the economy, especially the construction sector. In that infrastructure program, the DBSA is obviously front and center in driving that. And in the historical context of South Africa, a lot of the building sector is spatially influenced. So a lot of the economic activity is very far from where people live, and it has additional multiplier impacts on our carbon footprint, people having to travel to work, etc. So in terms of how we are and what the programs that we are running in the country, currently we do a lot of our programs on a lot of our initiatives on a programmatic scale, because we believe that will accelerate our objectives. We're running a social housing program, and to be honest with you, a lot of this is, well, we are pretty good at infrastructure development across the various sectors. Our social housing program is very much at its infancy, but we've done quite a lot of work on it, and I believe we've influenced how social housing is delivered to the country. And we also have a very active board, independent board, that also keeps us honest in terms of how we deliver on those climate resilient goals. So we've been very fortunate in that way. We also have a program called a student housing program. It delivers about 300,000 beds to students. And in South Africa, that's a big deal in terms of safety, of security, of learning, a conducive environment for learning. But there we also influence the type of buildings that are built using concessional funding. We have very good partners in the likes of GCF, GF, etc., where we lean on concessional funding and have come up with quite innovative structures, credit enhancement structures, conditional guarantees, first loss structures, to enable those projects, and also invite private sector into those structures and to assist us in supporting the funding, because they're large-scale infrastructure projects. So we look at mostly greenfields buildings, but we, in terms of, because we also support SOEs within government, we're also looking at the retrofitting of those buildings. And from a water strategy, energy strategy perspective, we're looking at the materials that must be put into the buildings and running our programs for government buildings. So quite a large focus on that. But I think the most important part of what we do is, especially in our area where I'm responsible, is we do project preparation. That's risk capital, meaning that we invest in the phase where you're still preparing projects for bankability. That allows us to influence the project and how it is constructed. And once it is ready for bankability, we've obviously structured something there we can engage the entire market to participate in. I hope that provides an overview.
Yeah, thank you, okay. Thank you.
Okay.
It's a good, interesting, there is a good synergy between what Miguel said previously on the need for creating incentives and adequate tools and removing barriers. Another point that is also very interesting is the connection with what Natalie said, saying that for to influence the quality of the project, it's very important to be here at very early stage and to put engineering means, adequate engineering means to influence the energy performance of the project. Not only energy performance, more generally, more broadly, the environmental quality of the project. I will now ask a question to our colleague from the Bank of Development of Brazil. Could you present briefly what are the financing programs and tools your institution has put in place to support sustainable infrastructure projects?
Thank you very much. And congratulations for this initiative and PEB, which is very important to address the relevance of the energy efficiency. BNDES has a long way in the ESG policies dating back far back as 1999. We have an environment and social responsible policy, which has been made through public consultation. And we are the leading bank in Brazil in SDG responsibility. And we are one of the largest financier of renewable energy in the world, with $30 billion allocated. We have a very broad range of instruments. We provide support credit lines and also some concessional funds and investments with a very broad range of sectors. One of the sectors that we are not involved is housing, except for some specific initiatives towards historical centers recovering and reoccupation. And in this very broad range, we try to address from the supply side, financing very strongly clean energy, renewable energy like wind energy, which is very broad now in Brazil, and solar energy. And from the demand side, we provide some incentives in our credit lines for the specific investments on sustainability in between the projects. So we have an incentive for around 30% of the interests in these investments. And I also would like to share with you one initiative that we supported during the preparation for the 2014 World Cup that was going to take place in Brazil. We have had a problem of hotel rooms deficit, and we were invited by the Minister of Tourism to develop a program to address this deficit. And that was an opportunity to introduce the sustainability requirements in this program for hotel homes. And also in this program, we had an overall rebate in interest rates from 30%. We provided also a larger term for repayment as long as the projects would address the energy efficiency and sustainability. So there was two lines. Energy efficiency, we could provide 50% more in the term of the prepayment, as long as these hotel rooms had a certification from a national institutions that provides the ranking from the energy efficiency. And in the sustainability hotel program, we had a term of repayment that was increased from traditional 10 years to 18 years to repayment, to construction of new unities, and also to modernization. This was a $400 million program, and it was able to provide a very important increase in the hotel rooms and with sustainability requirements. Nowadays, we have lines also for productive sectors. They remain with this incentive for sustainability investments. And we also have lines of credit to municipalities, to the government sector, where we support the projects for urban development, sanitation, mobility, and also public illumination where you have a very important energy economy in these municipalities, and also contributing to reduce the consumption of energy. Well, thank you very much, and I'm at disposal for further questions.
Thank you very much, Luciana. Thank you for having presented the wide range of products you are offering to your clients. And one point I catch, and that is also common to CDC, the fact that you are now introducing conditionalities for the extension of loans, and these conditionalities are related to the performance, sustainability of the project, and it's a way also to enter in the discussion with project sponsors. We are eager to provide finance, but we have also to introduce some requirements, minimal requirements in terms of impact for the global climate. So thank you very much. I would like to come back to Miguel, maybe for 2 minutes. Miguel, if you can also provide some experience, concrete experience of activities you have developed with your bank in Colombia in the sector of energy efficiency.
Okay, thank you very much for the space. Indeed, we as a Central American bank, we work for the whole region.
Sorry, I'm confused.
But we all work in Colombia. Yeah. It's one of our member countries.
Sorry.
Yeah, but basically, we as CABEI, we are working hardly on climate change issues. So basically, so far, 41% of our investments are focused in climate change activities. And in that regard, since the green building is a sector with a lot of potential, of course, we are developing activities on that. And I will share briefly only two or three, but very briefly. One of these is linked to the project preparation challenge that we have that mentioned Catherine before. So we are working with resources from the Global Environmental Facility and in a partnership with UNEP in Costa Rica, developing a market for building constructions for energy efficiency in building, especially in public buildings. And the first activity that we are doing here is a diagnostic. And based on this diagnostic, so we are developing capacity building activities and also the financial instruments that are needed to address these issues. So this is one. The second one is something that we are working with KfW. So then many people talk about social housing or greenhouses. So we have a program that is green housing. We are at this moment developing a diagnostic and developing the program itself in order to provide financing through financial institutions or through the government to promote green housing in the region. So these are two main things that we are doing. And then just 30 seconds more. One thing that is very important is vulnerability to climate change. And so just 1 year ago, especially indeed in November, our region was hit by 2 hurricanes in less than 15 days. And this caused a lot of damage, destruction in the whole region, especially in Honduras, Nicaragua, and Guatemala. And basically, one of these sectors that was very affected was housing. Yeah. So then, to develop resilient houses to climate change is a high opportunity. And in that regard, we as CABEI already approved one operation for the government of Honduras for 150 million to address this issue in Honduras.
Thank you.
Great.
Thank you very much. Matthias, would you add something? Provide one example of a successful program implemented by your institution?
Thank you. Yeah, as I mentioned before, I hope we have examples. For example, in with credit lines in Latin America, also in India, and then we have those direct programs, often more used also in the neighborhood countries of Europe here, Southeast Europe. When it comes to, let's say, more holistic approaches, for example, with including also building materials, life cycle analysis. We started to do that also in Mexico with the Ecocasa program. Also in Southeast Europe, we included certain aspects that focus on holistic building management, smart metering. In general, though, and in China, for example, there's a multi-sectoral program in the preparation that also now includes life cycle thoughts on these buildings. In general, I think what we aim to do more and should try to do in the future for KfW is to not only actually focus on the programs that are dedicated to either energy efficiency or climate impact, be it vulnerability or be it mitigation, but actually to also do kind of a, let's say, some standard routines and standard process that applies to programs that are for other purposes. So in our education programs, in our health programs, in governance programs, wherever we build or construct buildings, and that is part of the program. And it's actually, I mean, for a school, it's not in the focus, at least not in the first focus, to have a climate impact assessment on that. We should still try to do kind of a standard routine procedure when it comes to construction and buildings in general. And this is what we currently think through, discuss. On the other hand, it needs to keep kind of to remain simple and be applicable. So I mean, energy efficiency and the context is per se quite cost-intensive business line, I would say. The TA costs are very high in general compared to other programs. So it still needs to be manageable. But this is what we aim to do more in the future, also in other sectors that are not dedicated per se on energy efficiency and climate.
Thank you, Matthias. Thank you for this contribution again. I am told that there is only 2 minutes available for conclusion. Do we have any questions from the attendants? Or from the chat? I see that we have possibly two questions. No?
Just say hello.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. My name is Rainer Axter. We support the IDFC. And I have a question to BNDES about philanthropy in the Brazilian context, because we know there's a lot of philanthropy going towards the Amazon. But of course, cities are a big contributor to GHG emissions also in Brazil. So do you see a chance that maybe some money of this also flows into the cities to make maybe more livable cities and also less carbon emission cities? Thank you very much.
Thank you for the question. In fact, I think this is a very important issue. Usually when we think about concessional funds or philanthropy donations, we also think, usually think about education and social sectors, or in the sustainability, like preserving Amazon biome or reforestation, and all of these are very important. But I think we are missing that the cities are the main contributors to carbon issues. So everything that is directed to city recovery, to urban development with sustainability requirements should be looked at with more attention. So I think it's very important that we try to stimulate concessional funds and philanthropy to address this challenge of the cities. At BNDES, we have some initiatives towards it. We have a little concessional funds that we are preparing a call for projects that we would address exactly these for the municipalities, prepare projects that are more connected to committed to reduce carbon issues. So I think it's very important that we try to gather all of these concessional and donation to this major issue in the cities.
Thank you, Luciana. Thank you for all of us. I think you have demonstrated that you have already a robust experience in the sector of the building, and you have all express your willingness to push forward the transformation of the sector. And for that, you have already developed a lot of tools, dedicated tools, and what is also interesting, that the different exchanges and contributors have demonstrated that there were a convergence of views, but also of tools to address the issue of the transformation of the building sector. So thank you very much for all of you, and we see you soon.